Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys from Canada. You know we love you in Canada. Also, I want to say hello to the Big C tribe. You know we love the Big C tribe, following us from Africa right around the Pyramid region in Gaza. Also, I gotta say there's no one we love more than Canada outside of you good old boys down south, in the land of the free, in the home of the brave, and Big C will be following us very shortly. But today is a beautiful October the 27th, 2017, in the land of the free, in the home of the brave, and so many things happening in the world of sports. We have a full plate of college football coming up for you this weekend, and some of it starting tonight with Florida State having a really disappointing season. They're playing Boston College. Also, there's a high school game that's on one of the networks. Is Don Bosco Prep at home against Ramsey, New Jersey, playing Bergen Catholic, and they're also from the East Coast in New Jersey. Some of the top football programs in New Jersey, so they're playing tonight as well. We have the World Series tipping off tonight. It's going to be a pivotal Game 3 for the World Series. We got to find out who's going to take the lead. The team that goes up 2-1 in this series might be too much to overcome if you're the Houston Astros, the way they hit the ball, and also the way the Dodgers can hit the ball. So even the team that wins tonight is going to be obviously needing just to win 2 games as opposed to 3. College football all over the country. This might be the biggest weekend in college football. And then the NFL has a lot of things going on too, and we'll get Big C on the line in just a second. But we have so many things to talk about in the world of sports. But on top of everything, I hope that everybody can understand that sometimes what's in your heart will come out through your mouth. Big C, we know we have a lot going on, but before we touch on anything, World Series, NFL football, I just want to get your thoughts on the owner of the Houston Texans. We're really referring to inmates when it comes to black athlete football players, and we know this push for criminal justice reform, and we know that it's not fair. But is this really how owners feel about the black athletes when they push for equality? They call them inmates, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you got to look at Bob McNair. Bob McNair is a guy who was born in South Carolina, okay?
Yeah.
He went to school in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So he's embedded in Southern mentality, all right?
Yeah.
From the 40s and from the 50s and from the 60s.
Yeah.
That's his M.O. This is a guy who was a huge contributor to Donald Trump's presidential campaign.
Yeah.
So they go through.
Yeah.
So we heard the president call African-American players SOBs a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bob McNair resonated that same sentiment when he called them inmates.
Yeah.
And he was basically truly talking about the African-American athletes. He wasn't talking about the white ball players.
No.
But his sentiments were from his heart about what he said. And, you know, I'm so sick of this stuff, talk about people saying they misspoke.
Oh, he didn't misspeak.
What they're saying is that they're stupid. Oh, well, I was stupid for that minute.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I'm a billionaire, but I'm stupid, you know, when it comes to dealing with race relations.
Yeah.
And so he's saying, well, I'm apologetic because I misspoke and it was taken out of context. No, it was taken for what you said.
Yeah.
This is, you know, today's society is not the movie Shawshank Redemption, okay?
No.
It's not. And basically where the inmates were running inside of. This is not the case. Bob McNair spoke from his heart about what he said about his players and the rest of the NFL, just like Donald Trump when he called all the black players SOBs.
Yeah.
You know, McNair called them inmates today. Called all these black athletes criminals. Basically, is what he said. He said, you're criminals and prisoners. This sentiment was spoken years ago, Charlton.
Yeah.
By the Dallas Cowboys, okay?
Yeah.
The owner of the Dallas Cowboys and Tex Schramm saying, you know, well, hell, you know, we can't have the inmates running the asylum.
Yeah.
Tex Schramm.
Yeah.
It's because we can get another busload in here, okay?
Yeah.
That's what he said. And so now this is coming out. You know, in today's society, political correctness and all that, think about if a player had said that about owners.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now the players have so many rules called conduct detrimental to the team and to the league, all right?
Yeah.
Where there's fines and suspensions put in place.
Yeah.
I understand McNair's an owner and he's one of the bosses of Goodell.
Yeah.
You give Goodell autonomy
Yeah.
to levy down whatever he needs to levy down. This is a point when it comes to conduct detrimental to the league. This is with owners. We had another section talking about I'm going to sit players down.
Yep.
If they stand against the flag. None of these players are standing against the flag. If you think about it, Charlton, a month ago, this had basically died down for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Until Donald Trump shot off his trap.
Yeah.
Okay, with his racist tirade. All right, and racial epithet towards black players.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, the players, okay, we got to band together on this. We cannot have this, undermining us and saying what we are as a people.
Yeah.
Now McNair, Trump went from calling them SOBs to Trump, to McNair calling them
The inmates, yeah. And
own you.
yeah.
You can only do what we say. When we tell you to go to bed, you go to bed. When we tell you to get up and go to work, you go to work.
Yeah.
When we tell you to go out and hit the ground, that's what you do. To go hit the ground. That's basically what he registered today. Yesterday when he made this statement, Charles.
When you think about it, I do want to say this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Big C sent you. I recall when I was in college and I was working to put myself through college, I'll never forget that I worked for this company, and I was hanging around. The manager happened to be Caucasian. There were 3 African Americans there on the sales force, and there was about 15 Caucasian guys. We all got along. It was back in the 80s. I'll never forget leaving one day just to go home after work, but I came back to get something that I left in the refrigerator, and they were telling the N-word jokes as if they were talking about, hello, how you doing? And they were laughing and really, having a hoo-ha time out of it. And then I walked in the conference room just to get my lunch out of the refrigerator. And they said, oh, we didn't know you were here. As if it's okay if I'm not there to have that behavior. But these are the same guys that I would sit down and have a beer with. It's the same guys that I sit down and, hey, how's your family doing? Hey, how's the game this week? They were like swell partners, but when I wasn't there, they became like the statements of this owner of the Houston Texans. I'm going back 30 years, and it never really shaped my mind until hearing it over and over again, thinking that we're over this garbage. I know a lot of people really feel that way in their hearts, Big C, and I don't know how we ever stop it out. I think people really show their true colors when they don't think people are listening. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, let me tell you what political correctness is, okay?
Yeah.
Political correctness is looking around the room to see who's in there.
Yeah.
That's what political correctness is. This stuff has never gone away in society. It never will. When you have all white country clubs such as the Masters Golf Course in Augusta, Georgia, you're going to tell me that racial jokes don't exist there?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to tell me that racial jokes didn't exist in Donald Trump's office prior to him becoming president? You're going to tell me that they don't exist? Now, think about this. In all of the black cabinet members that we've seen in all these, crises that we've had nationally,
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The director of housing and urban development, who is he? Ben Carson.
Yeah, in Carson, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to tell
A
me
neurosurgeon.
the strike that we've had in Houston and also in southern Florida,
Yeah.
that the director of urban housing and development shouldn't show up at some point,
I haven't seen him.
especially when you don't have a FEMA director,
Yeah.
but the black guy in the cabinet is not seen.
Yeah.
That's intentional.
Well, I tell you what, for everybody who says, well, he didn't really mean it, I think he's more than 14, 15 years old from what I last understood. And it's okay if you want to be a bigot and racist. At least be proud enough to do it out in public. That's one thing. I'm going to say something very stupid right now, but it's a fact. That's one thing I respect about guys that will call you that same word to your face. They don't wait until they're behind closed doors because that's how they really feel. At least they own it.
He said this in an owners meeting.
Yeah.
There was no retraction from the rest of the owners.
No, they didn't walk out.
Backlash. This was a unilateral feeling amongst the owners of the NFL.
Yeah.
Is that they think of black players as inmates, their property. They don't think of them as business partners. They're their property. Now, McNair made this statement, and granted, this is not the first time he's made that statement. I can guarantee.
Oh, no, he said it too easily. It was too easy.
I'll bet all the head on my bald head on
Yeah, I understand.
said that before, and that's why none of the owners were uneasy with his statement, okay?
Yeah.
He just flowed, like a smooth 24-year-old scotch across your tongue.
I understand.
And so these guys sit back like, hey, we feel you, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And these sentiments are real amongst the owners of the NFL.
What a shame.
That their players are their total property and don't have the right to speak unless they're told and pull their chain.
Yeah. Well, I think obviously we'll hear more about that coming up. I know the some players are meeting with the NFL on Tuesday. And, to deny that there's racism in white corporate America is like denying there's sexism. And look at all the garbage that's come out of Hollywood, these executives, not just Weinstein, but there's several more, and they're all white. I mean, I'm just pointing out the facts. You can Google that too. They're all Caucasian men that are using sex against women. Could you imagine being told if you're a woman? And this is for every father that has a daughter and a wife, and especially a mother, because we all have that. If you have to be put under the scrutiny of you can have this job as long as you have sex with me, that's what a lot of these old white guys are doing in Hollywood. Now, be trans, this and that. You say, well, how does that affect some of the owners of the NFL teams? They say birds of a feather flock together. It's that mentality. And unfortunately, it's going to take some old white guys to say, you know what, maybe that's wrong. And I doubt if they can look at their kids and say, are you kids proud of my behavior? Maybe they are. Maybe I'm the oddball here at Big C. Yeah.
To get the jobs that they've got. But think about this. This oppression that the white women are talking about now, think about how many decades of black women have been under that oppression
Yep.
from white society.
Yeah.
Okay? And when white society did this to African-American women over the decades, rape,
Yep.
molested, and
Yep.
everything else, there was nothing said about it. Donald Trump said, boys having fun.
Boys having fun. Yeah.
That you couldn't go prosecute me. Even if you did, you risk your life by turning one over me because they could come back and kill you and nobody would think anything about it. Think about how many African-American women lost their lives
Yeah.
because they wanted to turn on a white man for sexual injustice against them, Charlton.
Yeah.
Sexual misconduct.
Yeah.
Misappropriation of action. All of these things. And this has been on forever. And I'm not saying that it's right now that they're doing it to white women because using power for sexual gain
It's criminal.
abuse women at any time
Yeah.
is inappropriate, whether it's in athletics, whether it's in politics, whether it's in the business corporate world.
Yeah.
When you go out and abuse women, you got to think about it. You have a mother, you have a sister, you have a daughter. Why would you want somebody doing that to them? Why do you want to do it to somebody else's daughter?
Well, we have a president that said he would sleep with his own daughter. So maybe it's a real, when people say things, maybe we should believe them and not just think they're joking. And because at some point in time, maybe we can't help the older generation, but the younger boys, when they go off to college and go off to high school, they have to know that grabbing women by the vagina is not appropriate. In fact, it's a criminal offense, and they can't think it's okay. And I know sometimes, depending on what ethnic group you belong to, the law treats us all differently, but I just think it's very shocking, not really shocking, but more kind of revealing what the Houston owner said. But again, they support Donald Trump, and we know a lot of the good old boys think the same way. Big C, I do want to touch on a few things tonight. We have the World Series, tipping off, and Game 3 starting down in Houston, Texas. I think J.J. Watt's going to throw off the opening pitch, and obviously Houston has been through a lot with the floods, and now they have this knucklehead comment from the owner of the football team. And I'm not accusing the baseball team of having the same kind of thoughts, but just give me your thoughts on Dodgers-Astros tonight. It's really a pivotal game. Game 3 is. If the Dodgers can win this game, they're up 2-1. But if they lose, they're down 2-1. Your thoughts on going into Game 3 in Houston I think they're going to have the dome closed tonight. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think they kind of settled on one of the teams is going to be down 1-2 after this game.
Yeah.
The most pivotal game was Game 2 in the series.
Yeah.
Because if the Houston Astros had not won that game, they could not have beat the Dodgers 4 out of 5, okay?
No.
That's what it would have taken to win 4 out of 5, and we're not going to see that in Major League Baseball. So that was the pivotal game in Game 2 at Chavez Ravine.
Yeah.
This is a critical game, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because this game gives the team the advantage. I mean, Hugh Darvish has been masterful for the Dodgers in his last 4 games, as we spoke about.
Oh, he's amazing.
0.88 ERA,
Yeah.
Charlton, and 4-0 in his last road game.
Yeah.
But Houston has been the hottest team in baseball at home. They've won 6 consecutive playoff games at home, Charlton.
Yeah.
So home field advantage for Houston has been huge. They hit the ball in that humidity down in Texas.
Yep.
And they love it when the dome is closed before them the ball carries.
Yeah.
Dodgers are not used to playing in enclosed confines. Most National League fields are open.
Yep.
In the American League, you have a few dome stadiums. But this is one of those scenarios, Charlton, where will the bats stay alive tonight? We saw that record 8 home runs in Game 2.
Oh, incredible.
5 in extra innings.
Yeah.
So will that onslaught continue?
Well,
Who will get on base? And I think the critical thing in tonight's game, Charlton,
yeah.
is going to be stealing the bases.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a lot of base stealing in the first 2 games.
No.
I think that will be critical in the offensive push tonight is who's getting on base with some speed and attempting to take second.
Well, I think we talk about sometimes streaks are meant to be broken, with the Dodgers not giving up a run when they passed the 7th inning with the lead, then Jensen giving up that run late in the game. That was unheard of for him to do that. I think it's just an anomaly. And we get him into the 7th inning or the 8th inning tonight. I don't think Dave Roberts is gonna bring in the closer if he brings in Jensen. Let him pitch 9th inning in the 9th inning, but not in the 8th. But definitely should be a great game. The Dodgers can still hit the ball, so can Houston. Whether it's Altuve, whether it's Fisher or Springer, and then McCain catching them for the Houston Astros is going to be big for him to catch and maybe try to pick up someone stealing. But I want to see Yasiel Puig. I think Turner will have another big game. A Sager with the bat. These guys are all batting in the 300s. And I think that still gives the Dodgers because they can hit the long ball. I can't wait until we see what happens in this game. Big C, I want to touch on some college football this weekend. If you look at what's happening this week in college football, this might be the pivotal week for college football because a lot of the big games are being played. We have number 5 Wisconsin. They're 7-0. They're at Illinois, a 2-5 team. So nothing to worry about there for Wisconsin. They're a 27-point favorite. They'll probably win by less than 27, but they'll win. Miami's ranked number 8 in the country. They're 6-0. They're North Carolina, uncharacteristically 1-7 on the season. Miami's favored by 20. I don't think the Canes win by 20, Big C. They've been edging by all of their opponents. Just your thoughts on Miami. Will they overlook North Carolina in a game that they should easily win, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, the Canes, Charles, in the past couple games have been on some very sloppy fields.
Yeah.
And if they can get a dry, fast track play in Carolina, you'll see that team speed take its toll on Carolina from the Canes.
Yeah.
Mark Rick has his team playing tremendous defense. You think about it, they haven't scored a lot of points.
No.
But they're not giving up any points. And that's the critical thing at this time of the season, this juncture in college football, is how well your defense is played.
Yeah.
Mark Rick was a defensive guru when he was at the University of Georgia. He played defense for the Hurricanes when he was in college.
Yeah.
And he's brought that same mentality back to Miami. You think about the championship teams that they had and how many great defensive players they had.
All dominant.
Mark Rick has brought that mentality back to South Beach.
Big C, another huge game down in the Big 12, which used to be the former Southwest Conference. We have number 12, Oklahoma State. They're 6-1. That game is Saturday at noontime on ABC Sports. Now, Oklahoma State's favored by 7.5 over West Virginia at 5-2 on the season. I don't know how a team from West Virginia is actually playing Midwestern schools, but that's a big game, especially on the road. Oklahoma State favored by 7.5. Is that a trap game with West Virginia plays really good football, especially when they're at home? Big C, your thoughts on Oklahoma State getting the win?
Well, Charlton, you got 2 elite, passing games. You got Greer down in West Virginia,
Yeah.
transfer from Florida.
Yeah.
Who's really been throwing the ball well in that offense, Cale Gundy's offense, down there.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, this is a team where we talk about Rudolph. You got 2 tremendous quarterbacks.
Yep.
Rudolph can put the ball in there any game for 400 to 500 yards. We talked about him and Mayfield being
Yep.
the best quarterbacks in the country. They're in the state of Oklahoma, having the best 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But, Rudolph gets overshadowed by Mayfield. But this guy, Charlton, is as good a touch thrower in college football.
No, he can spin it. Yeah, he can really spin it.
That's a big shootout, between these 2 teams.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Also, when we go across the country, we look at the Pac-12 conference. Cal Berkeley is 4-4 and had that upset win at home versus Washington State. They're at Colorado, 4-4. That game is on the Pac-12 network. And we have Colorado at home up in the high altitude, favorite by 4. Another huge game that I want to get on is part of the Southeastern Conference. Number 3, Georgia at 7-0. And they're playing Florida, which is 3-3, but that game's in Jacksonville. It's at 3:30 on CBS Sports. That's a grass surface, and Georgia's favored by 13.5. I know Florida has as much talent as Georgia, but Georgia's looking awfully strong. Big C, is there a chance for a hiccup when you look at a game that's on a neutral field? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, the game is secondary. This is the world's largest outdoor cocktail
Yeah.
Started yesterday.
Yeah, you good old boys.
The light started flowing, okay?
Yeah. I understand. I understand.
Georgia's lost the last 4 games to Florida down there in Gainesville.
Yeah.
Not Gainesville, but in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
But this has turned around this year. Georgia's coming in with a dominant running game with Chubbs and Murray.
Yeah.
They got a freshman quarterback that they don't ask a lot of. They got a defense that can handle anybody. And if Florida expects to stay in the game, they have to run the ball, Charlton. They're
Yep.
playing a freshman quarterback that's not truly tested.
Yeah.
Now, you got to think about this Georgia team shut down Notre Dame's vaunted running offense.
Yep.
That's third in the nation in rushing and averaging 320 yards a game on the ground.
Yeah.
They held Notre Dame to 94 yards at South Bend.
That's incredible.
So they're not really concerned about Florida. They want Florida to throw the ball, Charlton, because now you're playing into the strength of this Georgia defense with that tremendous front seven.
That's a good point, Big C. Can't wait to see if Georgia can live up to the hype that Alabama has been producing all season. Another huge game in the Southwest Conference, Big 12 now. We have the number 4 TCU Horned Frogs, maybe a little bit higher rated than they should be. They're 7-0 this season. They're at Iowa State. We know Iowa State upset Oklahoma. Maybe it wasn't an upset when you look at how they've been putting points up. That game is 3:30 p.m. on ABC Sports. And I look at the TCU Horned Frogs are a 6.5-point favorite on the road at Iowa State. I know TCU is rolling, Big C, but every team comes up to that game where they're looking at a team in Iowa State. A couple years ago, maybe they would overlook them. This Iowa State team, could they pose an upset to the run at the title for the TCU Horned Frogs? Big C, your thoughts?
When you look at Iowa State, Charlton, they're a top 25 team.
Yeah.
And they've already beat a top 10 team
Yep.
when they beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So this is a team that's not worried about the big boys, but Gary Barnett has a way of getting his teams ready for the big games, Charlton.
Yeah.
He has one of the more consistent programs in the country over the last 8 years. When you look at the revamping and the retooling of his players each year,
Yep.
he has Ken Hill playing quarterback, transfer from Texas A&M, doing a masterful job. This
Oh, yeah.
offense is averaging 50 points a game, Charlton.
Wow.
Iowa State is going to have to play mistake-free football to beat TCU, because I do feel personally that TCU will be one of the Final Four teams coming into the season, Charlton.
Well, they're in the driver's seat right now. They held their own destiny in their hands. If we swing it out to the West Coast, I look at UCLA, one of the favorites of the Pac-12 South beginning in the season began when they had that miraculous win against Texas A&M. If replay was used properly, they would not have won that game against A&M, but they're 4-3. Now, they're on the road at number 11 in Washington, which is 6-1. That's at Husky Stadium at 3:30 kickoff time on ABC Sports. And the Huskies are favored by 17.5. You have Josh Rosen, which is considered a first-round NFL draft pick, and he's going up against Jake Browning, who was also considered a potential Heisman Trophy candidate when the season began. This is not Don James' Washington Huskies where they're guaranteed to win. Any room for an upset or a letdown with UCLA going in there throwing the ball against Washington? It has to be a big win at home for Washington to stay in contention. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, UCLA has been injury plagued this year, Charlton, and we know that Washington had that one low game against Arizona State, but Arizona State has a tremendous defense.
Yeah.
But this is one of those games where you got two premium passes in the pack facing each other.
Yeah.
Rosen, he will be a number 1 draft pick whenever he decides to come out, because he knows how to work through the progression.
Yeah.
When you look at Browning, he hasn't had the year this year that he had last
No.
year. He had that shoulder injury in the playoffs, and he just hasn't been that quarterback. We've seen that with some NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It takes a full year to recover from that shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
But these college players don't have that time to rest. They want to get back in there, and sometimes it hinders their performance as the road goes on.
That's a very good point.
It's a game that Washington can be primed for that upset, Charlton. Rosen can any day get you 400 yards.
Yeah, he's a good.
If Washington doesn't put the pressure on him,
Yeah.
they're going to be in a dogfight come the fourth quarter.
Well, that's a game I really can't wait to see. I want to keep it out on the West Coast. Now, we talked about who's going to win the Heisman Trophy. Who's the best quarterback in college? Sam Darnold had a lot of press going into the season. And I look at number 21, Southern California, just blown up by Notre Dame. A game they probably could have stayed home on the West Coast and saved some of the airline fuel, Big C, because they were blown out by Notre Dame 49-10. And all the hype and all the pressure of trying to be Mel Kiper's darling for the NFL players to look at, the NFL teams. I think they can see that Sam Darnold needs another year or two at Southern California. They are ranked 21 in the country at 6-2. They're at Arizona State 4-3, down in the desert, 7:45 p.m. start on ESPN. And the Trojans are favored by 3.5, but after only putting up 10 points at Notre Dame, and then Arizona State winning the Utah one. Is that a trap game for the University of Southern California Trojans playing in the desert at nighttime? Big C, your thoughts?
It's not a trap game, Charlton. USC may have been overhyped at the beginning of the season. When you look at their victories, they haven't had any really blowout victories this year. I mean, they have had 3 games that have been less than a touchdown.
No.
That they've won, okay? And they've been blown out in 2 games. And this is one of those scenarios in going down to Arizona State, who has played tremendous defense against some of the top teams in the country. This
Yeah.
They will put tremendous pressure on him. They're down a couple offensive linemen and a receiver.
Yeah.
They lost their top defensive end, Charlton, to surgery. So USC is coming in limping. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a prime game for Arizona State to get on top of the heat in the Pac-12 conference.
If you're Mike Leach and you have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, they're also up against it this week. Number 16 ranked Washington State. They were as high as number 8 in the country before they dropped that game at Cal up in Berkeley. They're 7-1 on the season. They're at Arizona, which is very explosive under Coach Rodriguez. That's at 9:30 start on the Pac-12 network. Now, Washington State's favorite by 3, but I saw this Arizona point put 59 points on UCLA. I don't know if anyone's favored to win at that stadium. If they can, it's going to be a very tough game. Big C, your thoughts, Washington State at Arizona at nighttime?
Well, Charles, it's going to be, imperative how healthy the quarterback is for Washington
Yeah,
State.
Falk, yeah.
Falk, he hurt his hand against
Cal, yep.
He hasn't looked the same. It's time for him to grow up. You got to play with some pain.
Yeah.
And so he's going to have to throw the ball a lot because it gets hot in the desert.
Yeah.
And it's still hot down there this time of year. You're coming from Pullman, you have a little snow this time of year.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an adjustment for the Washington players to come down and play in the heat this time of the year. So,
Yeah.
it's an even game. It's a pick-em.
Yeah.
It's a game about turnovers. If you don't turn over the ball in this game, you will win. But you get 2 turnovers, you'll be looking at an L in your column, Charles.
Big C, another big game. We'll swing it out to the southeast, and we have Georgia Tech out of the ACC at 4-2 on the season. At number 7, Clemson, last year's national champion at 6-1. Dabo Swinney knows how to rebuild football programs a lot like Alabama and even Nebraska back in the day when you think about how consistent they've been. 8 o'clock start on ABC Sports. Clemson's favored by 14 against Georgia Tech that can really throw the ball. And I saw that Clemson team have some issues up at Syracuse, and I wonder if they can get a 14-point advantage against Georgia Tech, even though they're at home in Death Valley. Big C, your thoughts? Can Clemson live up to the billing playing against a team that can run the ball so well? Your thoughts?
Well, Clemson used up their mulligan up there in Syracuse.
Yeah.
They lost Davis, their quarterback, had a concussion.
Yep.
He's had a couple weeks to get healthy.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech is a perfect team for this Clemson defense. They have so much speed playing against a run team.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech doesn't throw the ball, so they're not worried about that. But this defensive front for Clemson is a tremendous defensive front. They just have speed all over the place.
Yep.
Georgia Tech has to play a perfect game to beat Clemson. Now, you recall last year, Clemson lost to Pittsburgh in a shootout in overtime.
Yeah.
But they went on and ran the table and went on to win the national championship. So, like I said, they used their mulligan against Syracuse.
Yeah.
Now, if they come on back and run the table, you have to look real hard trying to keep Clemson out of the playoffs. Is that you have 4 undefeated teams.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You're always going to have a team with 1 loss. Even Alabama's lost once when they won their last championship game. A couple of more big games on college football. Utah 4-3 on the season. They're at Oregon, which is 4-4, a Pac-12 network game. A 5:45 start. Utah's favored by 3 at Oregon. That's so rare to see them being an underdog at home. We have number 18 Michigan State 6-1 at Northwestern 4-3. That game is 3:30 ESPN, and Michigan State's favored by 2. And 2 big games I want to get to. We have number 15 North Carolina State at 6-1 on the season, and they're at number 10 Notre Dame also 6-1. Notre Dame looked like the national championship contender when they beat USC last week, but I think USC was overrated and injured. A 3:30 start on NBC, Notre Dame's network. Notre Dame's favorite by 7. If they play the way they played against Southern Cal, they'll win by 2 touchdowns. But NC State can flat out play some good football too, Big C. Your thoughts? Any chance of touchdown Jesus being upset at home this weekend?
Well, Charlton, NC State is coming in ranked. And Notre Dame has had problems in the past with ranked teams, but Brian Kelly's turned this team around. He's a true freshman playing at quarterback.
Yep.
Who's done a tremendous job. Everybody thought they were just a running team. They dropped 2 nice touchdown passes on USC last week in the first half.
Yeah.
Which really kept USC on its heels.
Yeah.
But this is a game that Notre Dame cannot afford to drop, Charlton. If Notre Dame can run the table, the national media would put Notre Dame in the playoffs, period. Just because they're Notre Dame. They got in once before and they lost to Alabama.
Yeah.
But, the love of having Notre Dame in there and having the fan appeal and the draw aspect of that, this is one that you can't pass up.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame, will play well at home against North Carolina State, and they'll pull this one out.
And they also have Stanford coming up later in the year, which got a 15-14 win against Oregon State on the road also. We have another big game, Mississippi State 5-2 at number 24, Texas A&M, also 5-2. That game is 7:15 on ESPN. And Mississippi State's favored by 1.5. I don't buy that at College Station. I'd rather give College Station and Texas A&M the points on that. Remember, A&M's only lost to Alabama in a close game, and UCLA, where they were robbed at the end of the game. I'm going with A&M in that one. Big C, I want to close out with your thoughts on the biggest game this weekend. It's going to decide the Big 10, Big 19, whatever you call it, however you count on your hands and toes. The Big 10 has a marquee game this week, and I think it's must-see TV. Number 2, Penn State, 7-0. At number 6, Ohio State, 6-1. You have Meyer versus Franklin, two great programs that are really on the rise again. At 3:30 p.m. kickoff, Ohio State at home is favored by 6. I don't know if they can get a 6-point win over Penn State, and I can't wait to see this football game. Big C, your thoughts on this big matchup in the Big Ten Conference?
They got redemption business last week against Michigan. Michigan beat them 2 years ago, Charles.
Yeah.
And they brought them into Happy Valley and had a happy good time.
Wasn't so happy. Yeah.
They just dominated that football game.
Yeah.
And as we know, last year, this was a game that was a very closely fought game between Ohio State and Penn State. Penn State pulled it out with the block.
Yeah.
Penn State is coming in, and they're on a high this year, Charles.
Yeah.
They're the team to beat along with Wisconsin in the Big 10, 20 conference, whatever that is. Exactly. Their quarterback doesn't get the credit that he deserves, Charlton. This kid is uncanny and intelligent in the pocket. He makes all the throws. He makes the right adjustments.
Yep.
The running back gets a lot of the credit, okay?
Yeah.
But this team goes through their quarterback. He is one of the unsung good quarterbacks in college football. If anybody goes back to last year's Rose Bowl when he threw for like 450
Yeah.
yards against USC's defense.
Yeah.
And, you know, and put out a shootout. He has not been outplayed in one game that Penn State has played this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
So I expect Penn State to go in and win by at least 2 touchdowns. They got
Wow.
a lot of pressure on J.T. Barrett.
That
J.T. Barrett has not performed in the big games this year.
Yeah.
Ohio State still has a set of young running backs.
Yeah.
That I don't know if they're big game ready, Charlton.
Yeah.
So I like Penn State by at least 2 touchdowns in this game.
That's an incredible pick, Big C. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We go through Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, your high school teams, even your mom and pop soccer leagues. When you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. As we cap off the NFL, Big C, in the second half of the show, some of the teams with the bye this week, the Cardinals, the Packers, Jaguars, Rams, the Giants, and the Titans are off. But I want to take you up to the beautiful state of Ohio. The Vikings 5-2 at the Browns 0-7. And that game is on Sunday, 9:30 a.m. start from Twinwick Stadium in London. We keep going across the pond, Big C. I guess they like to save the what's frequent flyer miles is what they're trying to get. Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, Jimmy Erdahl with the play-by-play. Your thoughts on the Vikings? Will the Browns get a win because they're outside of the country? Maybe weird things happen in this game. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charles, we've seen some strange things happen when teams have left the country.
Yeah.
The Vikings don't have one of the better defenses in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, Case Keenum is doing what he needs to do to win a football game. Latavius Murray had a tremendous game on the ground last week for him, even after Dalvin Cook has gone down.
Yeah.
So the Vikings are one of the more balanced teams in the NFL. They're in the lead in the Northern Division.
Yep.
In the NFL. So I don't expect much of a challenge from the Browns. They're still trying to figure things out at quarterback. I think Kaiser's going to start again.
Yeah.
That number 1 draft pick, Myles Garrett, is hurt again.
Yep.
So, you know, they invested a lot of wasted money in him and not getting any productivity. And then the second first-round draft pick, Jarrell Peppers, who knows whether he's on the field or not. So the Browns don't have much with Joe Thomas being out of tackle.
Yep.
Vikings have 2 great defensive ends, Charlton. It's going to be a long day for the Browns quarterback.
Another big game, and this time we'll come back to the United States of America, Big Z. I know they follow Big C Sports over in London as well, but I want to get back to the United States. Up in Buffalo, the Bills at home at 4-2. The Oakland Raiders are 3-4, going over there to the Northeast. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock on CBS Sports. Andrew Catalong, the great James Lofton, have the play-by-play. I look at the Raiders come from behind, 31-30 win over the Chiefs last week. It ended a 4-game losing streak. Carr passing over 417 yards. Your thoughts on Carr versus this great team from Buffalo, Big C? Should be a big game for both teams in the AFC.
Well, Charlton, this is the game to decide whether whether you still have a playoff life for both teams.
Yeah.
You know, to stay in the hunt. If the Raiders lose this game, I mean, it's a hard-fought division in the AFC West.
Yeah.
Just as well as the AFC East.
Yep.
I mean, you got these you got three teams in each division that's hot. We kind of figured that Kansas City may win the division.
Yeah.
The Raiders did look good with Carr coming back last week, but do they have any consistency? That's the thing. Tyrod Taylor is a mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
Something that the Raiders have not faced when you look at the quarterbacks in their division, a quarterback that can run around.
Yeah.
And the receivers for Buffalo have done a much better job than what people thought. Even after Ncaa retired, they traded the other kid to the Rams.
Yeah.
They thought they'd have no receivers. But you still have Shady McCoy in the backfield. And we know that the Raiders have had problems with the defensive front.
Yeah.
Shady McCoy could easily go for 100 yards against the Raiders, Charlton, and that would spell a win for the Bills.
Well, it's obviously a big game for the Raiders. Going early, and an early start on the East Coast hasn't always fared well for them. They do have two great linebackers, and it should be a good stance to see how the linebackers for the Raiders hold up against that rushing game. We also have the Colts 2-5 at the Bengals 2-4. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock. And on CBS Sports, Spero Adidas, Adam Archuleta, and have that game. I don't know what to say about the Colts. Obviously, I think Luck is gone for the career there. I think he's going to end up elsewhere. And the Bengals, who knows if Andy Dalton can ever play consistent football again, because he just hasn't looked the same. Your thoughts on the Colts at the Bengals? A big game for both clubs, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, people wonder why Andy Jackson hasn't looked the same, Charles, in the past couple of years. If you remember, the last quarterback coach he had 2 years ago, and the last time they were in the playoffs was Hugh Jackson.
Yeah.
Jackson left and went to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
The quarterback coach he had prior to that was Jake Gruden. He left and went to the Washington Redskins.
Yep.
So his last two quarterback coaches have gone, Charlton. They
Yeah.
have not been replaced. That's been the biggest problem with the Cincinnati Bengals is those guys are gone.
Yeah.
The players have basically been the same, other than Mohamed Sanu. They've had the running backs are still there.
Yeah.
It's just having a guy who recognizes and able to teach you when you come to the sideline and make the adjustments with you and for you.
Yeah.
That's what Andy Dalton hasn't had. So Marvin Lewis has not been able to replace those two guys.
Yeah.
That's why when we talk about when you fire a coach or a manager in basketball, football,
Yep.
or baseball, Charlton,
Yeah.
who's the next guy available?
Yeah.
If your guy has a winning record and you say you're going to get rid of him, you're not going to find another guy with a winning record to take care of because he's going to say, hey, you fired him, I know you'll fire him.
Yeah, that's always the case. You always know that job security is not a big thing when it comes to NFL players. I also want to look at another big game, potentially a big game. The LA Chargers 3-4 at the Patriots 5-2. That game is Sunday at 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS Sports. Iron Eagle, the great Dan Fouts and Evan Washburn have the play-by-play. You look at this Chargers. They shut out the Denver Broncos for the first time in 25 years. The Broncos were shut out. And you look at their defense. They talk about Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. They combined for 16 of the Chargers' 23 sacks. Tom Brady's he's not a mobile quarterback anymore. Are the Patriots in trouble against a team that just shut out the Broncos, Big C? A big game, especially if you're at home. And we know how New England got that phantom win versus the Jets, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, do you think that Tom Brady's going to sit there in the pocket and just hold the ball? Tom Brady understands what defenses do. He dictates what defenses do. That's the difference between he and Trevor Siemian. Okay?
Yeah.
Tom Brady can be immobile and not be hit. Trevor Siemian is immobile and is going to get hit. He's more like an Eli Manning.
Yeah.
He nowhere to find him in the pocket. Brady know how to slide. There's a lot of slide protection, but Brady does a lot of long handoffs. That's why he used three different backs, Charlton, because they're situational backs.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind swinging it out to a running back. He doesn't have to hold it and throw the ball down the field. That would be dictated based on what the defense does. But I don't see that pass rush getting to Brady from the Chargers. This is where the Chargers win streak stops, Charles.
That's a very good point, Big C. Another huge game. You look at the Bears 3-4 at the Saints 4-2. The Saints can take control of their division. That same is Sunday, 1 o'clock on Fox Sports. Justin Kutcher, Chris Spielman, and Jennifer Hale with the play-by-play. Now, the Bears rookie safety Eddie Jackson became the first NFL player to have two 75-yard-plus defensive scores last week in their win against Carolina. Drew Brees, he's going to be consistent, always going to try to get you 300 to 400 yards. Your thoughts on the Saints marching in the great state of Louisiana, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, if Jackson doesn't get those touchdowns, Charlton, this week, it's all over because Trubisky can't go against Drew Brees and just throw 7 passes. That's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trubisky's going to have to grow up as a quarterback.
Yeah.
He's going to have to throw the ball at least 25 times.
Yeah.
Because going in throwing it 7 and 12 times in a game, it does not work against one of the top players.
Yeah.
Football. That's Drew Brees. And every game, his offense has gotten better and better. And the surprising thing for the Saints, Charlton, is that they've had a running game to complement their passing game. But their defense is ranked in the top 12 in the NFL, which no one expected. It's going to be a long day for Trubisky in Chicago.
That should be something we look forward to seeing. If Drew Brees can outthrow Trubisky in a football game, Trubisky versus Brees, that's must-see TV. The Falcons sat last year's Super Bowl runner-up, 3-3 on the season. They really come down off of that cloud, and they're at the Jets 3-4. They seem to be ascending, the Jets. And that game is Sunday, 1 o'clock on Fox Sports. Sam Rosen, Ronde Barber, Christina Pink with the play-by-play. And I look at the Falcons' high-octane offense. They led the NFL in scoring last season, averaging 29 points a game. This year, they started out averaging 29 points in the first 3 games. And I look at the Jets. The Jets are a better team than a lot of people thought they were. And right now, if you look at the Falcons, they only average about 13 points a game. Is this a game where the Jets at home in the Meadowlands gets another win, Big C? Your thoughts?
When you think about the Falcons were outdoors last week up in Foxborough.
Yeah.
And that didn't fare out too well for them, Charlton.
No.
They went, well into this game without scoring a touchdown late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've seen the Jets put some points on the scoreboard this season, Charlton. They played well offensively.
Yeah.
Their defense has been much better than what they expected. So I see Ncaa having a good day against the Falcons. Matt Ryan is the quarterback on the hot seat.
Yeah.
He's the one feeling all the pressure. So I feel that Matt Ryan will be pressing this week. Sarkisian is on the way out as the offensive coordinator of the Falcons. He won't last another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If the Falcons lose another game.
Yeah.
So, the pressures are it's all on the Falcons. The Jets are playing with house money. And, you can get some swirling winds in the Meadowlands versus playing in that Mercedes Dome in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Which could cause problems with some Matt Ryan passes.
That's true, Big. He's throwing swirling footballs without the wind, Big C. And kind of the embarrassment of the NFL right now, we used to always think it's the Cleveland Browns. And it's a shame they're not playing each other this year. But the 49ers, I still think of the 49ers. They have 5 Lombardi trophies in the trophy cases for the 49ers organization. They're at the Eagles, which are 6-1. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock on Fox Sports. Kenny Albert, the great Charles Davis, and the great Pam Oliver with the play-by-play. The 49ers were destroyed at home last week, 40-10 by the Dallas Cowboys. That's a game they normally get up for. You look at the Eagles when Wentz had 4 touchdown passes in a 34-24 win over the Redskins last Monday night. Your thoughts on the Eagles? Any chance of an upset might be a foolish question, but do you see a game being closer than maybe a 10 or 12-point win, Big C? Your thoughts with the Eagles at home versus the 49ers?
Now, didn't the manager just send out a questionnaire and ask
Is winning important? The answer is no.
The management of the 49ers answered that question.
Yeah.
Winning was important to the organization, okay?
Yeah.
This will be like shooting ducks in a toilet for the Eagles, okay?
I love the animal reference, Big Z.
Okay?
Yeah.
The 49ers have no hope. They have no secondary. They have no pass rush. They have no defensive line. And matter of fact, they're starting a rookie quarterback, C.J. Beathard, out of Iowa. Okay?
Yeah.
They gave up on the season 2 weeks ago. They honestly did. The 49ers gave up on the season, and this is when the commissioner should really step in the NFL.
Yeah.
They talk about tanking in the NBA and teams getting fined.
Yeah.
We actually have teams tanking in the NFL. The 49ers are at the head of that list of tanking. I can't say that the Cleveland Browns are tanking. They're just a snake-bit organization.
Yeah.
The 49ers are just tanking.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz will go out and just pad his stats this week, Charles, against a hapless team.
Yeah, he may look like Don McNair against this 49er team. It's really a shame to see a team have, right on the cusp of the Super Bowl championship with Colin Kaepernick, who's still available, and they cut him to have what they have now, which I know there's some knucklehead fans that kept saying, we don't want a guy that's not going to salute the flag. Well, they got what they wanted. Big C, a big game for the Buccaneers. They really got to get on track. The Panthers, a huge game for them. Carolina 4-3 at Tampa 2-4. Sunday 1 o'clock on Fox Sports. We have Chris Myers, Dale Johnson, Laura Oakman with the play-by-play. And the Panthers have to find a running game. They can't get Cam Newton banged up again. And Jameis Winston, the same thing. Both of these quarterbacks are still young, but you want to see them have a better running game on both sides of the ball. Your thoughts on the Panthers going into Tampa, getting a win when the Buccaneers really need it more than Carolina? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, these are two teams that their offensive line have been underperforming all year long, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you think about the hits that Cam Newton has had to take this year, as well as running for his life,
yeah,
you know, it's been a problem with the offensive line. Everybody blames Cam. But we've seen up and down the ledger, Charlton, teams without offensive line. We talked about the coach.
Yeah.
They have no offensive line. You got to cut them all.
Yeah.
You got to cut some guys. I mean, you know, you think about the beratement that the African-American players take for taking a political proper stance
yeah,
in the NFL.
yeah,
And yet you get players that's getting players assaulted.
yeah,
Because they don't work. All right?
yeah.
There's not an offensive lineman, I don't think, that's starting on any of these teams with these dismal records making less than $1 million a year.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
But that's not enough money for him. You're like, you want me to block for him? Okay?
Hey,
You want me to block for him?
they didn't get the 49ers memo, Big C. They need to read that. Winning's not that important for some of these good old boys, Big C.
I think half the NFL teams need to take that memo from the 49ers and do it themselves. Winning is important because we need you to pay full price for your tickets.
Yeah.
But do you think that winning is important? We need you to pay full price for your tickets because our team don't give a damn and management doesn't give a damn about us winning.
Hey,
You're not getting any ticket reduction.
Big C, do you think the 49ers, before they sent that memo out to their fans, do you think they consulted with Joe Montana, Steve Young, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott, all the great players that have come through that organization? Do you think they consulted with those guys to ask that stupid question, Big C? You know what I'm saying?
I tell you what happened because we had the huge fires.
Yeah.
I thought that they still go after those people.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the owners might have went up there and picked up some of those scalded bottles of wine. And the wine had not been good to drink.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're like, wow, I got a great thought.
Yeah.
Do you think that winning is important?
Yeah. That's funny. We got 5 Lombardi trophies. Do you guys care if we win or not? Big C, another big game up in the Great Northwest. The Texans at 3-3, at the Seattle Seahawks 4-2, and the 12th man will be on stage as a Sunday 4:05 start. CBS Sports. Kevin Harlan, Rich Gannon. I know a lot of the Houston players have to be pissed off, if not disheartened, over the real thoughts of their ownership coming out about them being inmates. And no matter how you coin it, I doubt if he refers to his own kids as inmates. He probably refers them as people that he loves, and that's what he says to the people in public. I love you. You know, you're like family. I doubt if he calls his wife and kids inmates, but that's what he thinks of his players. The Texans up against the Seattle Seahawks at home, and you look the last time the Texans went up there, they got beat down 42-10 in 2005. But I tell you, this quarterback, Deshaun Watson, that Mel Kiper thought was picked too high. And McShay, they were saying he's not NFL ready. This kid's playing like he's in his 3rd year already, Big C. Your thoughts on that Seattle defense up north, Big C?
The defense was put on the field by Bob McNair with what he said to his players because he had about a dozen players walk out of the locker room after they heard that statement.
Yeah.
Now, the football is there's a lot of emotion involved in the game, Charles.
Yeah.
And I understand that players want to win, even though the 49ers management doesn't want their players to win.
Yeah.
But this is a scenario, if I'm a Houston Texans, I really don't give a damn about playing in this game.
Yeah.
All I'm thinking about is not getting hurt.
Yep.
And so I can't see a 100% effort being put forth by the Houston Texans this week, Charlton.
Yep.
I see them going up there playing a lackluster game in Seattle because this will prove a point that the players are more powerful than what management keeps thinking that they are.
Yeah.
They're not slaves.
Yeah.
They're your co-partners in this venture.
Yeah.
But you don't treat them that way.
Yeah.
You don't give them the respect. And Bob McNair gave the ultimate backhand.
Yep.
I mean, he might as well have been Donald Trump standing there in the owners' meeting.
I think he thought he was talking to Donald Trump.
They're good friends.
Yeah, they are.
Friends.
They are.
But, to make that statement that my slaves, and I know he probably would have said my slaves.
Yeah.
Instead of saying my slaves are running the institute, he said slaves running this. That's the way it was brought out in the media.
Yeah.
But I know he said my slaves think they're running this institution.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Because that's his mindset, Charlton. This is not a political correct time.
No.
This is not being taken out of context.
No, it's not.
This is not misspeaking. This is not an apologetic stance. Don't apologize for the bullshit.
Yep. Yeah, I understand. Hey, watch him out, baby. Yeah.
Telling them that they're dumb and everybody else is smart.
Yeah.
But, Bob McNair showed his intelligence. Yes, just because you're a billionaire doesn't mean that you're not ignorant.
Yeah.
You are ignorant to the sensitivity of people who don't have what you have. Ask the president.
And I think you'll see how the NFL owners feel when they won't come out and say anything negative about it. They're going to forgive him about it. The same way a lot of good old boys forgive Donald Trump for grabbing women by the vagina, even though it's considered sexual assault. I want to bring up this point before I get into the Cowboys and Redskins. I want to say Emmitt Smith, about 15 years ago, he broke the all-time, rushing record, and Emmitt Smith has been a great running back in the NFL and didn't end his career at Dallas, but definitely began there. I came out of Florida. But the Cowboys 3-3, a big win for them. If at San Francisco, a huge win just to get them back on track mentally. That the Redskins in a big NFC East game, also 3-3, Sunday 4:25 p.m. on Fox Sports. Tom Brenneman, Troy Aikman, and Aaron Andrews have that play-by-play. Big C, this is a game where either one of these teams is going to be chasing Philadelphia for the division. Your thoughts on this game coming up on Sunday, the Cowboys at the Redskins, Big C?
Well, I believe the Redskins, Charlton, have lost the last 4 times that they faced the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And this is a game that's critical for the Redskins because they've already lost to the Eagles this season.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So they can't afford to lose. If they lose to the Cowboys, they're down 4 games in the division.
Yeah.
There's no way that they're only hunting for a wild card berth. The Cowboys need this game to stay in chase of the Eagles, Charlton.
Yeah.
They played their best game of the season last week, even though it was against that team that doesn't care about winning.
Yeah.
This is a game when you look at the game that the Redskins just came off, Charlton. They came off a dismal performance.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 2 teams that's going in polar opposite of each other.
Yeah.
I like the Cowboys in this game because Dak Prescott is getting better. The O-line is getting healthy, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they figured out in Dallas what they want to do.
Big C, a huge game, especially when you look at the implications for both divisions. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they're 5-2 on the season. We know they're one of the better ran organizations in the NFL. They always have been, from way back in the day when they had Chuck Noll running the helm, and then they had Cowher, and now they have Tomlin. The Steelers are 5-2 in the season at the Lions 3-3. That game is Sunday, an 8:30 kickoff on NBC Sports with the great Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Tafoya. Le'Veon Bell is running his way towards the top of the NFL charts. I look at Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. They've made up. They're a big play waiting to happen. And you have the Lions who always like to come from behind because they can't keep the lead. Your thoughts on that game? Should be a big-time game for both teams, determining what's going to happen with their playoff chase. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I got 2 tremendous thoughts on this game, Charlton, and it'll start off with Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin is the sheriff in Pittsburgh. Okay?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We had a receiver, Martavius Bryant, with a big mouth running off about he was unhappy and he needed the ball more.
Yeah.
And he was better than the guys that were catching the ball.
Yeah.
Okay? Mike Tomlin was a sheriff. He settled that quickly.
Yeah.
Thing called a practice roster in the NFL.
Yep.
Let's see how many balls you kick.
Hey. Yeah.
After the practice roster, you got this thing called the waiver roster.
Yeah.
If you really need to feed your family,
Yeah.
let them talk again.
Yeah, that's funny.
So Mike Tomlin has this team on track, Charlton. They're 5-2.
Yeah.
This is a game. Matthew Stafford, what's his claim to fame?
Yeah, coming from behind.
Coming from behind.
Yeah.
So he's going to score 21 points in this game.
Yeah. That's funny.
His offense is hot. He's going to spot him 21 points.
Yeah, he says he likes to play from behind. That's a funny statement. What do you think about that for a football team?
And he'll probably end up losing by 13-14. He'll spot him 21, lose by 13-14, okay?
Yeah, that's funny. Before we get into our last game, I want to ask you your thoughts. I know you're a defensive guy, so I think I already know your answer. Kiko Alonso, the hit. I understand you're sensitive about it, Big C, but I do want to get your thoughts on Kiko Alonso and what was called a dirty hit on Joe Flacco. He's concussed because of it. We know the CTE issues. Here's a quarterback that's already going down, giving up his body. He did not go head first. He went feet first into the ground. And just like any quarterback, we got to protect players, especially if they want to protect the quarterbacks when they slide feet first. Now, if he went head first trying to get that extra yard, I can understand. But I think from an offensive point of view, when you're a quarterback sliding feet first and Alonzo coming in and gave it the shoulder pad, it wasn't helmet to helmet, but it definitely was shoulder pad driven to the helmet of a guy that was already on the ground. Big C, I don't think there's room for that in football, but I think you might think otherwise. I want to get your thoughts on that hit that so many people are up in the air about it. Big C, your thoughts?
Answer this question, Charlton, for me.
Yeah.
Do you wear a skirt or a pants?
I wear both depending on what day of the week, Big C. I'm in California. It all goes in California. Yeah.
We're talking about protecting quarterbacks. You protect them in the pocket, all right?
Yeah.
Everyone has used the analogy that Cam Newton was a runner every time he got hit. They
Yeah.
left the pocket, okay?
Yeah.
All right? Joe Flacco is just as big as Cam Newton. Joe Flacco, 6'5 and a half, 235, 40 pounds, all right?
Yeah.
Joe Flacco brought that on himself. Now, you said Kiko Alonso was a dirty player. I looked at his uniform and looked pretty dirty last night, all right?
Yeah.
He did get down and dirty.
Yep.
But you got to blame this on Joe Flacco. Everybody wants to say Kiko Alonso took an unnecessary shot on him.
Yeah.
Blame it on Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was trying to get that extra yard to get to the first down, okay?
Yeah.
He gambled, all right?
Yeah.
He gambled. So if he had went down a yard earlier, we would not be talking about this. This would not be a discussion. But Joe Flacco pushed the envelope
Yeah.
and created that scenario. If he had gone down, he wouldn't have gotten hit like he did. So he created that. If you want a quarterback to go down,
Yeah.
protect him, he needs to go down early.
That's a good point. Spoken well by a defensive player. I didn't expect anything less what you think. See, the last game we'll touch on, a huge matchup in the AFC West. You have the Denver Broncos at 3-3 on the season, and they're playing again at the Kansas City Chiefs, Arrowhead Stadium, 5-2. Remember, the Chiefs were the last undefeated team in the NFL, coached under Andy Reid. That game is Monday night, 8:30 on ESPN with Sean McDonough and John Gruden. I look at the Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt, has 7 consecutive games with at least 100 yards from scrimmage. Denver doesn't know where their offense went, but their defense is still pretty good. But when you're always on the field, you're going to get worn down. Big C, they're in a big spot. They're going to be about 3 times as many people in Kansas City as it was in Carson last week. Big C, your thoughts on the Broncos getting back on track at the Chiefs?
Well, you know, Charlton, this comes down to John Elway. He's down there selling SUVs to fans. And to put them in.
Yeah.
He needs some blockers. That's what he needs. That's the problem with the Denver Broncos. It's nothing less than they don't have a decent offensive line.
Yeah.
When Peyton Manning was around, they paid for an offensive line. When Peyton Manning left,
Yeah.
they stopped paying for an offensive line. And the NFL goes as an offensive line goes. You know, we look at the elite teams in the NFL. I mean, when the Eagles lost Peters last week, that's all the talk was. It wasn't about how well Wentz played.
Yeah.
It's what are they going to do to replace Peters? The
Yeah.
top offensive tackle. And you look at the Cowboys, you know, everyone talked about them having the greatest offensive line in pro football.
Yep.
The Raiders a couple of years ago invested more money in the offensive line than anybody.
Yeah.
When you look at this scenario, Charlton, if you don't put money into your offensive line in Denver, this is what happens. 2 years ago, they had a good offensive line. They let those players go into free agency.
Yeah.
Now they don't have a running game. Simeon's running for his life.
Yep.
The defense is spending too much time on the field, Charlton. And so that's a problem.
Yeah. I tell you what, when you think about the money, you keep talking about these $100 million quarterbacks, but how many of them can complete a pass if they land on their butt? See, not many people can throw sitting on the backside. And when Stafford said he likes coming from behind, that's because they really don't have much of a choice. Obviously, NFL football is tough. NFL football is big. You have a lot of big physical, nasty contacts that happen all the time. I hope that Flacco's going to be okay, but it is a physical game, and I hate seeing guys being punished for doing what they're taught to do. Big C, yeah.
Answer this question.
Yeah.
Let me ask and answer this question.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about hitting defensive receivers all the time, don't
Yep.
we?
Yeah.
Talk about hitting quarterbacks. You got to protect them.
Yep.
Has that same question ever been posed for running backs and linebackers? Who are the 2 players that take the most punishment every play in a football game? Those are running backs,
Yeah.
and those are linebackers. They hit by linemen, they hit by linebackers, they hit by fullbacks, they
Yeah.
hit by everybody
Yeah.
on both sides of the ball. No one ever talks about protecting a running back, the most often injured player in the NFL, running back,
Yeah.
and linebackers. You know, but no one says that you can't hit them.
Yeah.
And you look at some of the shots that these guys take, blindside shots, there's no flags thrown.
No, they do put up with a lot.
There's all this crying all of a sudden in football.
Yeah.
I mean, take me back to the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
You know, when you could knock a guy out, if the ref saw you,
Okay.
you brought the medical staff out on the field.
Yep.
This is a violent game.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You can't protect everybody. If the quarterback, think about this. If you're going to let a quarterback run out of the pocket and slide, why don't you just touch the ball?
Was.
You might, it's the same as taking a slide. Once you touch him, he's down right here.
Yeah.
Just put your hand on him.
Obviously, there's always going to be a pro and con depending on what side of the ball you're on. But I do want to say there's a lot of good things going on this weekend from college football. A lot of things are going to be shaped for the playoffs this week. Also, the World Series will be decided a lot this weekend because the team that goes back up probably 2-1 may just win the whole thing. We don't know, but it should be great to see.
This series could be over the next time we're on, and somebody could be down 3-1.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Big C. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bondini Brown. He was Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
I'm looking for an overwhelming weekend of college football. As we talk about, this is moving Saturday when it comes to college football. We're going to have 3 teams knocked out of contention for college football playoffs.
Yeah.
We look at the NFL, we're going to have some division race settled this early in the season. And also, Major League Baseball. I'm expecting somebody to come out this weekend being up 3-1.
That's going to be something great to watch, and you can find out what happens every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, please call 911. Especially women in Hollywood, because there's a lot of people, just because you have money, it doesn't mean that you're immune from pickets behavior. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.